Sadnam, thank you for waiting and thank you for the patience. Sadnam, everyone. Sadnam Infinite Stories, Sadnam Infinity, Sadnam Mistywood. Hello. And yeah, sorry for the technical challenges. I was moving things around and somehow maybe it got unplugged. And then the YouTube was definitely saying like, oh, you don't have any audio. Let me block it for you. And I'm like, don't block it. It's like, what a thing. The dynamics were spiraling. Yes, it was spiraling out of control for a moment. It lets us know how little control we have over life. And you cannot even do a simple microphone check. And I thought I had the system ready, but up until 5 minutes ago, I didn't know what we were going to do today. And then I thought, somebody in the last live stream mentioned something about spiral dynamics. And I said, well, how about we explore that? And I thought, well, if we're going to do that, I'm going to do like, I'm going to show my process. That's what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to show the way I approach any topic and a new topic, because I don't know anything about spiral dynamics. So I thought, how about we explore it together in the stream? And so I wanted to share the screen, the browser on the screen, on this screen, and I had to set it up. And by doing that, I probably messed something up. Hopefully it will be working. We will see in a minute. But yeah, before anything, thank you everyone to be here. This month, I'm going to be scheduling, I'm going to be live streaming every Tuesday and Thursday. That's the idea. If there is any week that I have to miss it for some reason, I will just send a message beforehand. But initially, this is going to be the new schedule. I'm going to do it at the same time every week, because I used to do 1 week in the afternoon, 1 week in the morning. And my idea was that maybe more people would have access to it because of time zones. But in the statistics that I get from the channel, most people watch my videos in the channel at this hour, which is kind of past midday in my time zone. And it makes sense. It's early morning in the US, it's late evening in India and other countries in Asia. So it kind of makes sense to stream at this hour. And I think if we are consistent and regular, it will be easier for people to know when I'm online. And the idea has always been to let it grow. So if there is more people joining in together, today we are 4 right here online. So if there's more people joining in, I can, consider streaming some other hours. But today we're going to do something that I was also considering to do, not just to prepare a material and to deliver it, not also just an open session where we can talk about anything, but pick a topic and explore it together. And let's see what it says to us. So I'm hoping that with the collective wisdom of all of us, we can find some clarity with that topic. So I chose this topic because of the suggestion from last week. I mentioned that I want to study a little bit of sacred geometry related to the chakras. That will be coming up probably soon. But then somebody said, why don't you check spiral dynamics and chakras? I don't know, maybe it was somebody here in the chat, maybe. So I thought, that's a good idea. Let's do that, spiral dynamics and chakras. I don't know what spiral dynamics are. I know nothing at all. I just opened the web to Wikipedia. And let's see if we can get it working. So let's see. Let's cross our fingers and let's hope our technological fairies are working. Like that. How does that look? Maybe like this. That would be a bit better. Is the zoom good enough? Maybe a bit bigger. For some people are reading from the phone. I mean, if you're not reading, it's fine. You don't have to be reading this. I'm going to be reading some of it. And then the idea is that I'm commenting on it. So maybe, some people don't like to look at the screen. They are cooking or they're traveling or anything. You can just listen. But if you want to check the screen, this is just the Wikipedia for spiral dynamics. So let's see what this is about. So it's a model of evolutionary development of individuals, organizations, and societies. So already this is very interesting. It's a topic that I'm interested about. I'm interested about evolution and about evolutionary biology and the dynamics of people and societies, but also companies, why not? And I have researched a few things on this topic, and I like to relate whatever I learned from this topic with the numbers, with Karam Kriya, and with yogic knowledge, what we know from yoga. So surely we can study these spiral dynamics and see how they relate. In the comment that I got in the other stream, it was check spiral dynamics and chakras. So I guess they were saying like checking the chakras, like the evolutionary, this evolutionary development in people through the chakras. So we will check that. Let's see. Don Edward Beck, Christopher Cowan, Emergent Cyclical Theory of Clark Graves, combined with memetics. Memetics coming from Richard Dawkins' book, The Selfish Gene. Probably many of you have read it. Let's see if I go here, it will mention. Yeah, The Selfish Gene, yeah, Richard Dawkins. I read that book some time ago, long time ago, but it was very, very interesting. Today, memes is so common in our culture, in YouTube and TikTok and all this social media. There is a meme, looking for the meme. But I remember when this book came up, I believe it was Richard Dawkins who coined this word, who created this word meme, like gene, coming from gene, and it's something that is passed along a culture, like a genetic imprint in a cultural thing, maybe a word. Ken Wilber, okay, Ken Wilber is also worked on this. Okay. Business ethics, all right. Describes how value systems and worldwide emerge from the interaction of life conditions and the mind's capacities. Value systems. Okay, so changes between the states may occur incrementally or in a sudden breakthrough. All right. All right, so let's go to the system. Let's check it out. This is the text from 1996. So already I see here, the first thing that I notice is there is a color on the left. I have no idea why they use this color. I wonder if in the original text there was some meaning to why this. Let's see how far it goes. Okay, up to coral. I don't know. Coral? What? Okay. But beige, purple, red, blue, orange, green, yellow, turquoise, and coral. And I don't know what the order is for. I mean, what sense does it make to go from beige to purple? I have no idea how this was chosen. But let's look at the number of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then second tier, 7, 8, and an additional one that is unknown. Okay. So that's pointing to 9. So it could be linked to numbers. So it could be 9 different frames with 9 numbers. However, I want to point something out. We're gonna check research done by a person. Whenever we do that, when a person is trying to study some phenomenon that happens on a universal scale, let's say to everyone, or like, let's say this is the evolution of the dynamics of evolution in a society or in a culture, in a company, in a person. When you try to do to the universal part of something, there will be part of what you observe that is truly universal and part of what you observe that it is biased based on your experiences. So when you're looking at something and you are identifying different states, some of them will clearly characterize particular individual stages that are universal to everyone, and some others will be how you perceive the world, how you see the world. So this happens always. This is the difference between the magic that made man and the man-made magic. And it's sometimes challenging to find the difference between one and the other. This is where the numbers are going to give us a good support. So we're going to look at the theory that they presented here, the spiral dynamics. We're going to check it out in a moment. But let's always keep in mind that there may not be a direct correlation. And there may be some other things that we can see maybe from yoga or maybe from numerology that are going to be aligned in themselves. Just initially, there is 9. It could be numbers, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 9. But because the suggestion was to look at this in relationship to chakras, then I'm going to check it out through the vision of the chakras as well. And because I haven't gone too far in the course on numbers, I think it's difficult if I start having a conversation with the language of numbers rather than really the language of chakras. So let's take it from the chakras perspective, and let's go slowly. I mean, the numbers of the chakras would not relate to the colors, because this is not done by a yogi, I imagine. So we have to think about whether it makes sense that it's talking about different chakras. And there is a quote from Graves, who created this topic, and it says AN. I don't know why, but okay, never mind. Let's forget about the color and the code, and let's go to the description and the attributes. Survival, zen, and instinctive. Okay, that's very good. That's very much first chakra, so that we are going really, really into the first chakra. Let's see what it says. Automatic, reflexive. Excellent. Okay, so reflexes. Now that's interesting because it's not the same an action, than a reaction, than a response, than a reflex. There are different ways in which we have an effect on the outside, let's say. For example, if we think about reflexes, which is the word that he was using here, a reflex is the most basic level reactive behavior, let's say. I don't want to show you the word reactive, but let's say the most basic level behavior that we have towards the outside. And that we can do that. We can draw it. We can make some comments here. Let's find a page, and let's see. So the very first one, how am I going to do this? Am I going to put it with a yogi? I think we are. So if we go into the first, there is survival sense, and it talks about reflexes. Now, when we are looking at reflexes, there are some good graphics online for the colors, says Infinite Stories. I did find a few graphics. I will. Maybe we can explore them afterwards. I did a search. I saw the Wikipedia and I saw a few diagrams, but I think it's better if we first look at the text. So yes, thank you. We will look at that. So reflexes. Let's say that I touch something that is burning. So the sense in my finger, the neurons will go all the way in my body to the spine. This is a vertebrae. This is another vertebrae. This is my column, my back. And inside there is the spine. And out of the spine there is nerves coming out, which go to different areas which are sensing things in the body, including sensing pain. Now, if I touch something with my finger and it's burning, the sensation will go, and even from the very spine, I think this is called reflex. What is that? Reflex arc, I think it's called. So there's going to be a message from the spine to the muscles around the finger saying, pull your hand back. So if I touch something burning, immediately I will remove the hand, and that message is going to be coming from my spine. So, the nerves go up to the cervical vertebrae. In between, there's the nerves, and I will pull my hand away from the fire. Even before thinking, I am burning myself, I have to remove the hand. Why? Because this doesn't happen in the brain. It happens in the spine. So this is called a reflex. So it's very interesting that when we were studying the brain, the different layers of the brain, and I mentioned in the mind course about the core side of the brain being the reptilian, and then the mammal and the human and all that, well, primate and human. Even before the reptilian, before the brain, some decisions are taken on the level of the spine. So, and those are called reflexes. So this is the most automatic behavior. This is the most basic behavior, is reflexive. It's not even reactive, even less responsive, right? Responsive is when you have a certain consciousness. Reactive is when you are like having, well, maybe it will come later in this description. We just read one line and it's already inspiring many things. But this is my process for researching, right? So there we have automatic and reflexive, centers around satisfaction. Interesting as well. We were talking about in the mind games, related to mind games, and particularly the 7 steps to hell, how we try to look for pleasure and avoid pain. Again, a reflex means if this is burning, I move my hand away, or this is something pleasurable, I go towards. So there is the most basic level of behavior, yeah? Looking for satisfaction and trying to go away from pain. So it makes sense to what we are reading right now. There's a message coming in. It's also about the evolution of states of human consciousness in terms of their identities. First year, starting from the most egoic and animalistic up to cosmic or as God consciousness, all inclusive. Great. So we're gonna see that. Was it you, Infinity, who suggested to look into this topic? It might have been you, I was thinking. So, great. Just to make it clear for you to make better context. Yeah, great. So, driven by deep brain programs, instincts, and genetics. Yeah, this whole reflex arc is genetically encoded. I cannot control my hand pulling away from the fire. This is something that for the evolution of the species, for the survival of my genes, it was very important that if I sense something that is dangerous, I pull my hand away. If I sense something burning, I pull my hand away. So this survival sense, it makes sense that is connected on the genetic level. Driven by deep brain programs, instincts, and genetics, little awareness of the self as a distinct being. All right, so it's the first stage in humans. We can also think of it like babies in the various stages of life, in 0 to possibly 3 years old, possibly, where you are not, even earlier than that, maybe 1 year old babies is, we are told that they don't know very well the difference between them and their mom, for example. No, it's like they are one being. They have been one being for 9 months, and suddenly they are outside the body, but they don't know very much the difference between one and the other. So little awareness of self as a distinct being. And that's because the ego hasn't formed yet. So this is not even egoic. It's not even egoic yet. Infinity, you were talking about animalistic up to cosmic, but before egoic is animalistic because the ego hasn't formed. The baby is just, it has to operate in the world, so the genes are preparing it to operate, but there has been no ego yet with a self-identity of what it likes and what it dislikes. This is about living off the land, much as other animals, and minimal impact on or control over the environment. All right, so yes, the way it is said, and the title also, survival sense, it aligns pretty well with I'm gonna be a mess clicking from one window to another. So it kind of goes very well with the one. Let's just say something though. The first 3 chakras are both animalistic in a way. The 3 of them are instinctive. So instincts are more related to around the first, second, no, even the third. I would say the 3 of them are instinctive. So it's hard to differentiate if it's more 1 or 2. our instincts, yeah? So, all right, when we see here, it says instinctive, okay? But let's see what the second one says. Kin spirit clannish. Okay, clan. All right, so indeed, if we look at the evolution of humans and human societies, we started to gather in clans or tribes to survive. And it would just make sense if we have to defend against the elements, against some of the creatures. It just helps to be in tribes. And as far as I remember, we are designed, even our brain, to operate optimally in a tribe or a clan of less than 50 people. So that's how we have been designed. Let's see what it says here. Clannish. Well, let me put the other one above as well, so we can see both. This is all first year, I don't know why. But okay. Obey desires. Let me see. I need to move this. Obey desires of the mystical spirit beings. Obey desires of the mystical spirit beings. Well, that's interesting. Obey desires, obey desires, obey desires, desire. Desire is a word that we can totally link to the second chakra, isn't it? Sexual desire. So we would go, how did he call it? Clannish. Okay, let's put the same name. And there is a matter of desires. And he's talking about some mystical beings, some mystical spirit beings. Now, I would argue that in the first tribes, even the first tribes, before the first tribes, in the very first element, in the first chakra, there is already this connection with something mystical and something spiritual. There is just not a clarity of what is this desire that they are talking about. Because let's think about societies, right? We are in this tribe, very early ages, and now we have a sense of something divine, something spiritual or something magical that is around us. And we are a little bit afraid of it and also in awe of it. Or very afraid of it and also in awe of it. And so we see the sun, we see the stars, we see the rain and the clouds, and we see the thunderbolts like signals and signs of these divine beings or etheric beings, or we don't know what it is, this magic. Sorry, you have to go. We'll watch later. Sadhana Mistywood, we were just going into the mist and the mystical. But yeah, good to see you here, and you watch it later, and write in the comments after you watch it what you thought about it. Sadhana, take care. So we have a contact with these spiritual, mystical beings, and a part of us, the part of us that has desire, that this second chakra, senses that these beings may have a desire as well, and we want to please them, just like we were here looking for pleasure or pain, yeah, avoiding. This is pain, pleasure, and this is avoid and seek behavior. Yeah. So in desires, we think, well, if we are avoiding things because they are painful and we look for pleasure, maybe these beings also have some sort of desire, and so we have to obey. Now, that's interesting because if any of you have watched the course I did on Mul Mantra, when I was going from the Ek to the Ong, the second part, the second word in the Mul Mantra, Ek, Ong. In the Ong I mentioned there is a need, there is a void that's in us, that starts from the very moment that we are born, right? And we are talking now about a society being born. This is what we are studying. And in this void, in this need, we are also reflective of the need to come back to the origin and to come back to link to something spiritual. And so there is a desire to go back to that origin, and also linked into that origin and sensing there is something spiritual about that origin. When we go into reference with that origin being something divine, or like what we would call God, we want to relate to it in what way? Well, the virtue would be to obey the divine law, obey divine laws. So this is something that comes as the virtue of the second particle of the Mul Mantra, which is number 2. Interesting. The virtue is obeying. So when we come here, the second level, obey desires, is very, very connected. So it strongly resonates as something that is true, that it makes sense to me. Show allegiance to elders, custom, and clan. Indeed, this, obeying and loyalty are the virtues of the second number 2, and the second, you could associate it to Ong, the second part of the Mul Mantra. So we can also associate it to the second chakra, and it would be appropriate. So we can put it here. Obeying and loyalty. This one is like shamans. What do you mean? Oh, you mean the shamans being the connective link between the wishes of the gods and the tribe or the clan, right? I guess you mean that. So indeed, yeah, we want to fulfill the desire of this divine being. What do they want? We don't know it, so we have to have an intermediary, somebody who is going to channel the will of the gods, let's say. So these would be the shamans, yes. He will say here the allegiance to the elders, the customs, the clans, and it would be the shamans as well. Now, we also preserve sacred places, objects, and rituals. And particularly, that's interesting, sacred, because we are in the spine, we are in the sacrum, yeah? We are in the bottom of the spine, from the very bottom going upwards through the sacrum. So interesting that we are talking about a sacred place. And, you know, if we talk about sexuality as well, because it's linked to the second chakra, it has to be something sacred about that as well. What else? Bond together. Well, look at that. We are talking about sexuality and we come into bonding together. So it makes sense. We are bonding together to endure and find safety. Well, look at that. Safety is something that is linked to the first chakra, right? So this is the interest from the very first stage. But by bonding together through the second chakra, we find the safety of the first. So the first one feels in safety. When we are bonding in the second and being loyal to each other, this is linked to couples and relationship as well, yeah? Not just, but I mean, if you are living in a clan, you are 50 people, you have to loyal to each other and trust each other, and we are all helping each other. And by merging and joining all of those, then we can find security altogether. Yes, every stage is still existing in our present societies, and in recent social psychology studies, they also did a statistic of relating the tiers to different countries. That is kind of dodgy. That's kind of dangerous, because that can take to saying this country is less developed than the other, and saying these kind of people are stuck in the second chakra when these ones are in the sixth or something like that. Is that what they did? I don't know. I don't know if I would subscribe to that too much, because that's kind of dangerous. I think there is certain qualities of numbers and elements associated to different countries, races and religions. Indeed, there's no doubt about that. But I wouldn't do the link that they are evolutionary more or less ones to the other. So I don't know about that. Infinity, did you read the studies? How did they talk about different tiers to different countries? I wonder about that. Let's carry on with this one. So we were here, bonding together to endure and find safety, live in an enchanted, magical village. Well, enchanted and magical is something that I connect more to the first chakra. It's just magical that we are even born and we are over here. And I think the first chakra is associated with stone, with earth. The second one is with water. So magical is like the magic stones, is like the philosopher's stone, is like the sacred place, a sacred rock, a sacred altar made of stone where you pray to the gods to appease them and to please them. So I would say magic goes into the realm of the first chakra more than the second. Also, in the first chakra, if you, let's leave it like that. I don't want to overcomplicate this, but let's see. How can I do this? All right. Live in an enchanted magical village, seek harmony with nature's power. Here it is, nature's power. I was wondering about that, because when it talks about magical village, magic I associate more with the stone, but nature's power, this is more water. This is more clearly water, because nature is linked to water. We think about nature, we think about forests and rivers and plants, and this is more linked with water, not earth, which is like a desert kind of feature, right? Is more herbs and plants. That's nature. And there is a power to that. There is a power linked to water. If we go with numbers, which number is linked to the power? It would be the numbers of water, 2 and 8. So, and there's power creates imbalances, creates voids. And that's linked also to the void of the second chakra. And we talk about the different problems related to the first 3 chakras. The typical traps is sex, power, money, and it's very connected to the second chakra, sex, power, and money. Relationship to money can also be placed in the first one, because the first one is stability and security, but money also flows like water, and water is linked to the second chakra. So look, so far so good. This study that we have seen, very interesting. Yeah, it talks about the very, very high qualities as well. It doesn't talk much about the karmic qualities, even though you could see how obeying the desires of mystical beings, depending on how you identify these desires, you could go to war with other tribes and to go create all sorts of karmic things. And also the rituals can be all sorts of karmic rituals. So it doesn't talk too much about karma. It's more about quite neutral in the language, though, some things will be quite dharmic, like seeking harmony with nature's power, finding that we are living in a magical place, bonding together. It all seems quite nice, quite dharmic so far. I wonder about the karmic sides of this one and this one. But let's go on. I hope it's being interesting so far. I don't know if that interests you or not, doing this kind of exercise to take a theory that I don't know anything about, and let's just explore it from the yogic perspective. Infinity says, yes, every stage is still existent in our present societies, and in recent... that's the one I read before. Infinite Story says, I just wish they would have used the colors in a logical frequency order. I'm used to... it would make sense that we would follow the order like the frequency of the colors in the rainbow. That would, because it's like in nature. I don't know why they would use these colors. Does anybody know? Those of you who have looked into this, did anybody study why this was beige and purple? Why did they use this and these terms? I don't know what this is. BO, CP, I wonder what that means. But if anybody has an idea of a bit more details on that, that would be nice to know. Should we move on to the third one? I'm going to leave the screen the way it is like this, so we can see the third one as well. This is all first year. Let me just do it like this. And, okay, let's look at the third one. So, in a world of haves and have-nots, it's good to be a have. In a world of haves and have-nots, it's good to be a have. Let's see a comment. Spiral dynamics colors were selected to differentiate clearly between the stages in a progressive sequence, helping to illustrate the evolution of human consciousness and societal changes. And Infinite Stories says, I think they were random. So, but, oh, the colors are symbolic, so purple like psychic or magical, red to power or anger. Oh, I see. So it's more the meaning that you give to that color, because you could see anger with yellow as well, because that's the fire. Fire is not just red, it's red to yellow. But okay, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. So he was just trying to associate a color to whatever he was identifying in this. I don't know what beige would be, but okay, fine. We will not use the colors. We will just read what he's saying, because so far it's very interesting. So in a world of haves and have-nots, it's good to be a have. So that's kind of ego. That sounds kind of like I want this. I'm going to have it, because some people don't have it, or sometimes I don't have it, so I better make sure to have. Let's see. Avoid shame, defend reputation, be respected. Well, now it's clearly ego. Now there is no doubt, right? We're going into shame, which is, look, it worked. Why would we use shame? Because it worked for many years. If we have to work in tribes and we have to survive as a tribe, it's when somebody does something that is inappropriate for the tribe, having the emotion of shame and people shaming that person would be useful for that person to feel horribly for what they did and want to change their behavior. So it makes sense for the collective good of the tribe to utilize shame as a tool. Now, it's a very karmic way to do this, but it works, and this is why religion has used this for many years as well. Beige is most earthly and prehistoric. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we're going into the third chakra, clearly. How did he call that one? Sorry, because I cannot see the page so well when I have my other page on top. Power gods, egocentric. Well, now it's quite clear. We're going to put here, egocentric. But yeah, this is karmic, yeah? Shame, reputation. Reputation is all about the structure. Oh, I'm drawing and I'm not even showing you. Yeah, the reputation and shame is about who is higher in the structure, the status in the tribe. And you see it's a triangle, it's a pyramidal setting, which is associated to the 3. So we are, because it's 3 points. So far so good, it makes sense. Gratify impulses and senses immediately. So this is the ego kind of justifying, if you can follow my language, justifying why we are following pleasure and avoiding pain. Because remember, these first 3 chakras, they are linked together. They are working together. This is what we call the lower triangle. I'm not sure how many colors I want to use today, but this is the lower triangle. And so it's fine for this one to try to justify why we have these impulses inside. So it just makes sense. So gratify impulses and senses immediately, fight remorselessly, and without guilt. You see guilt here? To break constraints. Break constraints. You can hear the triangle. The triangle is like the limits, the constraints. This is our prison, which is made of shame and guilt. Yeah? And we are fighting to get out of this prison. So, and fighting. Okay, don't worry about consequences that may not come. So, look, these 2, he was being quite neutral, even quite dharmic in the exploration of these 2, which I'm guessing there is another side to these 2, which would be more karmic. However, when he goes into the third, he goes full on karma. Do you notice that? Does it make sense the way I'm saying it? Or is it just me who has this sense? Does it make sense that when you hear these words, this is the approach that I use. Somebody is observing this in a society, in a culture, in a tribe, in the evolution of somebody. And if we look at this, this is babyhood. These are babies. Infancy. This is childhood. Obeying the parents, right? Babies, automatic, living off the land, what the mothers give them, mothers and parents, yeah, what the parents give them. You see, this is a baby, this is a child. Now, it's natural to have good, nice eyes when we look at children and babies, and we see the best in them, right? We don't see also the karmic side, we just see the beautiful baby. Now, when we look into the third stage is adolescence. Look, we see everything was wrong. We see everything that is wrong with the adolescence, everything that is karmic. Infinite Study says spiral dynamics and the chakra system are different models with distinct. I lost the message. With distinct origins and purposes, which explains why they use different color schemes. Yeah, sure. Spiral dynamics is a psychological and social model. On the other hand, yoga comes from ancient Indian metaphysics and medicine, especially from yoga tradition. That's right, yeah. And yet, if we are studying humans and we study psychology of humans, we are studying the same, even if it's from different perspectives. So, yeah, colors will not match, but the description should. So when we are talking about the details, we should be able to identify points in common, which is what's happening so far. So good. So far, we found this aligned with the first three chakras. Pretty clear, no doubt. It's just that this is dharmic, this is dharmic, this is karmic. So that's a bit weird, but I guess it will make sense when we go to the fourth stage. Can we go to the fourth and let's see what happens? I'm excited to find out. This is going to be interesting. Look, I'm going to put now the third on top and the others below. So like this. Let's see like this. Okay. So that's the third. The fourth one is called purposeful. Purposeful. Okay. Purposeful. I'm gonna write it here. I'm not sure what to make of this yet, because it doesn't sound like the fourth chakra so far. Let's see. Find meaning and purpose in living. Meaning and purpose. I mean, part of meaning is fourth chakra. That would be more or less. Let's see, but that's kind of a purpose in living. Okay, let's see. Sacrifice self to the way for deferred reward. This sounds more like a dharmic stage. Finding meaning, sacrifice the self, bringing order and stability to all things. Hold on. Order and stability. Stability is linked to the first chakra, safety, but it's also linked to the third, because when we have I was not reading. Sorry, I was not showing the image of the screen. So finding meaning and purpose in living, sacrifice yourself to the way for deferred reward, bring order and stability to all things. Now, focusing on order and stability, that sounds to me like 3 still, because you know when you have a chair which has 4 legs, it can be quite unstable depending on the ground that it sits. But when you have a stool, I don't know how to call this. I think it's called stool. And it has these 3 legs, right? No matter how unstable the surface, this is always going to be stable. So stability is actually something from the first 3 chakras. The first one being the more stable, like stone, yeah, static, stable, strong, steady. This is all st sounds, yeah. And but the third one can contribute to that with the structure, structure of the status, you see, and the order that it brings. Infinity says. It's also multidimensional, so as you said, stages of development from the baby, also they correspond to times in history of development of the human at mass scale. That's right, yeah. We can look at the infancy of humanity and childhood and adolescence, and we can see also that in every race, in every culture, in every religion. The beginning of the religion is the infancy, and then the adolescence is as we grow, and so on. So yeah, this is layers upon layers. This is a fractal experience, right? This universe is fractal in its many dimensions, and what we see in the little things, we see it in a large scale. When we see in a little baby, we see in the one person, we see in a family, we see in a society. So it's interesting to observe. Well, bring order and stability sounds like third chakra to me. Control, that's definitely third chakra. Impulsivity and respond to guilt. So we are still with the guilt, but now we are responding. So it implies there's a little bit more of consciousness and controlling the impulsivity. So we are still in the third chakra. We are still in the third chakra, folks. We are here, but we moved from the karmic to a little bit more dharmic, which is control. We are not just going to go with the guilt. We're not going to go with the impulses that are coming from below and just going into the prison and the shame and the guilt, all that. We are now starting to have some sort of control, which is something that the third chakra does. Yeah, the navel, it exerts control. So we are still here. Enforces principles of righteous living. Right. How can I say this? What is wrong and what is right. What is wrong and what is right. And this is the mind judging. This is right, and I'm going to do a righteous living. Do you hear? That's the navel. That's still the navel point. That's still the third chakra, being wrong and being right. And who is wrong, they should feel guilty, and there is shame to that. But we are going to be right. So you see, this has evolved a little bit. We are not into the such egocentric that we don't care about the consequences, but now we care about the consequences and we try to control the consequences. This is not going into the heart yet, but this righteous living. There is a judgment, yeah? So the mind is very much active. So this is still 3. It's just a little bit less karmic. I wouldn't say this is dharmic, because control and these kind of judgments, they are still karmic, but just less karmic than before. Let's see what else it says. Divine plan assigns people to their places. Yeah, I mean, clearly, people to their places. This is, again, there is a meaning for the pyramid, and everybody has to be in their place. You find your place in the pyramid. This is what happens when you bring a monkey from one zoo to another, and it's a new zoo. They don't know where they belong in the structure, in the society, so they are disoriented. They have to see, where do I fit into this pyramid? Yeah. So I don't know about you, but my feeling is that we haven't left the third chakra. We're still there. He uses the color blue. Okay, well, let's carry on. Let's hope it evolves. This is strategic. Well, strategic is also third chakra, because it's also linked to the mind. This is not the heart. We haven't got to the heart yet. This is, to me, clearly the heart still, the mind. And we know the mind is linked to the third chakra and the number 3, because when we are doing numbers, 3 and 7 are connected. So 3 and 7 add to 10, 7 is the mind. We're doing a course on the mind right now, the course on the number 7, and we see many things which are related to number 3, like recognize, accept, and agree, and things like that we were talking about in previous videos. But anyway, so let's see. Strive for autonomy and independence. Okay, let's call it strategic. Strategic here. So this sounds So far, it sounds like we are still in the 3. It says, strive for autonomy and independence. So now this is when okay. Let me not write anything. Let me just put it like this: autonomy and independence. So we have been in a tribe. We feel locked in this triangle, and we have been loyal to it because we are still inheriting the loyalty from before, and we felt there is something wrong with that, something karmic. Now we want to get out, in a way. This is the autonomy and the independence. This is the trying to escape from the triangle. But it's also something very much linked to the 3rd chakra, because 3rd chakra is your protection and your projection. So the navel point, which pulls us forward and creates a base of defense. So this is wanting to be different, wanting to be autonomous. This is me. This is again the ego. It's still the ego. It's just less karmic, but still there. Okay, let's see what else he says. Seek out the good life and material abundance. The good life. You see? So the judgment is still there. Something is good, something is bad. I'm not sure how is that different from enforced principles of righteous living, because it sounds very much the same. A righteous kind of living in which we look for the good life. Material abundance, this is also another big clue, because this whole is material. This is all our relationship to the material, a relationship to the human, a relationship to the spiritual. The 3 chakras, right? The 3 levels. The lower triangle, the higher triangle, and in the middle, we have the heart. The heart is the human, this is the animal, this is the spiritual. In the animal, we are related to the material. So far, we haven't left the material. We are still looking for our well-being, to be good, the good life. Look, it's not even that different from in a world of haves and have-nots, it's good to be a have. So I don't see that much of a difference. It's just that here we may be willing to still. Oh, sorry, I'm showing the wrong screen again. So look, in the world of haves and have-nots, it's good to be a have. This is from level 3. From level 5 is seek out the good life for material abundance. How is that different from this one? I think the only difference is that here you are willing to steal if it's necessary for you to have, and not to be one of those who don't have. Scared of being shamed and your reputation, so you're going to steal but in hiding. But also don't worry about the consequences while you're here controlling more your impulses, but you are here still seeking the good life and looking for material abundance. So it's just, maybe you're not going to steal necessarily. You're going to try to provide for you, for your family, but still we are in the 3rd chakra. We haven't moved. Progress through searching out for the best solutions. Again, something really clearly in the mind, always looking for solutions. In the levels of the chakras, the 2nd chakra is the one that speaks in terms of problems, because this is the emptiness of the 2, and desires are linked to problems. And the 3rd chakra is linked to solutions. So I'm going to put it here, solutions. Trying to find solutions to certain problems. Okay? So we are still in the 3rd. Enhance living for many through science and technology. Again, the mind. We haven't got to the heart. This is all mind, 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 mind. Play to win and enjoy competition. Look, we did a video on competition and collaboration. Competition would be 3rd chakra. Why? Because it's the triangle. You want to be the top of the triangle. You want to be the head. You want to be the winner. It's just that on this level, the egocentric, you don't care about the consequences and you care what you have to do to be the winner. On the strategic, you are going to want to get to winning, but maybe carefully not to oppress others on the way. Something like that. So you're playing to win, but you enjoy the competition. And you learn through tried and true experience, which is what helps you to be strategic about and make plans to win. And Infinity says, currently in general, we are at green, pluralistic, and egalitarian. It's also believed that hippie culture in the 60s and some major revolutions had a huge influence for moving us from orange to green. What is green? Green is the next one. Yeah. From orange to green. Let's see. Let's take a look at that. Let's see if we cross the adolescence. But so far, what I have seen is that from what I understand, these three levels, sorry, can I group them all? Whoa, no, I cannot. That works, it moves too fast. Okay. First level, level 1, one chakra. Level 2, second chakra, quite dharmic, both of them. Level 3, 4, 5, these three are level 3rd chakra. But this is more karmic. This is kind of an in-between, and this is a little bit more dharmic, because it's for the good life, enjoying living, enjoy the competition and winning. Yeah, this is more like the dharmic experience of the 3rd chakra. 3rd chakra is enjoying. Is having fun, entertainment. You remember in the video from last week when we were talking about the needs of the baby, and we said the 3rd one is to have fun, to be entertained. And that's what these games are for. So doesn't it make sense? I just don't see such a big difference in these 3 levels. It's all 3. It makes sense to me. I don't know. Let me know. Maybe I am excluding something, but so far, that's how I'm hearing it. So let's go to the 4th. The 4th, he calls it relativistic, human bond. Okay, that sounds definitely 4th chakra. I'm gonna write the title. We will see if it assigns or not. I'm gonna say it human bond. And let's see what are the clues that he's gonna give. Explore the inner beings of self and others. Well, I mean, if that's not 4th chakra, I don't know what that is. This is like a self-knowledge, looking for the self, the authentic self, the self in the heart. And through the heart, the self of the heart, having the empathy to connect to others. That's definitely 4th chakra. So here we go. Empathy. And I will be pleased to create this link to the heart. Let's see if it's coherent with the other concepts or not. Promotes a sense of community and unity. Well, incredible. Yeah, common unity, community, right? Community, Dharma, Sangat, Guru. These are 3 terms we use to call about these 3. We say this is the realm where we generate most karma. So we have to apply our Dharma here to deal with this. We can see this right here, how to deal with this. So that's why we need Dharma. Now, through Dharma, we connect to the community, Sangat. So clear, so clear. Sangat. And through the Sangat, having our own Dharma, through the connection to the Sangat and the service that we do in the Sangat and the sharing, we get to Guru. I promise, I didn't read this document before. This is the first time I'm reading it, but to me, it just makes sense. So, sharing. Look, I just said the word sharing, right? I didn't read it before. I'm just saying, look, this is the thing. When something makes sense, when some people can identify it, you can just see how the lines align, how the words align, how the numbers align. And this is what I like about knowing numbers and knowing the yogic wisdom. When you read something new, completely different, you've never experimented or explored or studied before, and you can find the same lines. You can find how they agree together. Here we have a good example. I was just talking about community and how in the community we want to serve, we want to share. And here comes the sharing. Sharing society's resources among all. So this puts us in contrast with play to win, with in a world of have-nots, I'm going to have, with living off the land, right? We are going beyond and now sharing the resources among all. liberation. Liberating humans from greed and dogma. So you see what this is? Greed and dogma, greed and dogma. That was that was linked to the ego, and the dogma, that was the triangle that was created in the structure of the third chakra. And it's like the triangle is opening up. When we go to from the third to the fourth element, from the fire to the air is free. So freedom is liberation. So it's so clear we reached the air. We have reached the air. There's no doubt about that. So there is Sangat, there's empathy, there is liberation. It just makes sense. And reach decisions through consensus. Look, up until now, we weren't really taking that many decisions. We were operating in an impulsive way up until here. Here we were controlling the impulses, but we were still in a reaction mode. And here is not just reaction, this is now decisions, which means response. We went all the way from reflexes through reactions, with the impulses, guiding the reactions, impulsivity, trying to control the impulsivity, not being reactive, but enjoying. This is the semi-conscious, this is the conscious. Now we go into the consciousness. And this is where we make conscious decisions through consensus, through the Sangat. And refreshing the spirituality and bring harmony. So we are connecting at the level of the heart to something divine, something spiritual that is going to bring harmony to us. Clearly, very, very clearly, this is the human level, this is the fourth level. And it coincides in this case, the color, it coincides with the color of the fourth chakra. So far so good. Infinity says, totally makes sense, your correlations, that's so interesting. Yes, it's interesting. I'm curious, I never studied this before, but it just makes sense. Now, he calls this second tier. I don't know what that first tier and second tier means. Do you know, Infinity, what that is about? Does anybody know why he calls that first and second tier? Did it mention here? It doesn't. First order, is this? Second order change. No, that's change. So I don't know why he would call that second tier. For us, if it makes sense, I would say this is first tier, this is second tier, this would be third tier, if you wanted to look at it like that. But I don't know if it's what it means. I don't know what he means by second tier. All right, he called this one systemic. Well, let me write systemic here and let's see where it goes. Will it go to the fifth chakra, I wonder? We shall find out. A little bit, it seems, a little bit. Did I skip any? No. 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4. Oh, sorry. I'm not showing them. You know why I'm sometimes not showing? Because for me to control the screen, I cannot be seeing what I'm projecting in the screen. I only have one monitor. I don't like too many monitors, too much technology. I try to keep it very simple. In my house, I have my table. I even pull my keyboard away, my mouse away. I only have something to control the screens, about some buttons, and I want to keep just one screen of what I'm looking. So when I'm seeing what is being projected, I cannot see the screen with the comments, and that's why sometimes I'm talking about something and you're not seeing it on screen. But this is my first time sharing the screen in this way and doing some research online, and hopefully I will get better at it, and hopefully Hello, 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 hello. Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. Hello, hello. There we go. So, thank you for letting me know Infinite Stories. The cable of the microphone was very tense, and it was pulling away from the USB. I figured that out now. So, I will fix it tomorrow, but for now it should be okay. There should be no more problems, hopefully. I missed some messages. Ken Wilber elaborates more on tears. So he mentions that first is egocentric, then ethnocentric. Okay, that makes sense. And then cosmocentric. Oh, so that would make sense with the, how do you say, egocentric. That this would be the ethnocentric, and this would be the cosmocentric. Yeah, we can even write it. So this would be egocentric, ethno, and cosmocentric. Yeah. Dharma, Sangat, Guru. Yeah. Totally. Makes sense. Don't worry, the screen is here. I'm getting better with this, with the technology. Okay. Let's see the systemic. Accept the inevitability of nature's flows and forms. Accept the inevitability of nature's flows and forms. Focus on functionality, competence, flexibility, and spontaneity. To be spontaneous. Well, initially, kind of reminds me of the fifth chakra, because the fifth chakra is communication, and is what connects different individuals to make a system. So that kind of makes sense. Now, the fifth chakra is also linked to this is the filter of what goes in or what doesn't go in, and it's sometimes we draw it like this. Wait. So this would be 4. Fifth would be like this. This is the yin yang. Yeah. If you look in the Mul Mantra, Karta Purak is like the inside and the outside, the Purusha and the Prakriti, the balance between both, and the communication that is needed to put them both into balance, and the flow between the polarities. So that's the middle point. Number 5 is in the middle of the personal and impersonal, and is the middle point between a polarity of male and female, is the communication. So the flow and these nature's flows and forms, this could be connected to that. I'm not 100% yet. I'm not sure we are already in number 5. Focus on functionality, competence. I mean, functionality and competence, that sounds very much like third chakra still. Flexibility could be linked to this 5 aspect, but not convinced. Spontaneity is more linked to the heart. To act upon the heart, when the heart feels something, you are spontaneous. And I would even say 6th chakra, because you are like having an intuition of something and you just spontaneously feel what you need to do. So what I see here, it's a mixture of 3 going into the 4th and 6th. So kind of in between all of those. And even nature's flows, this could be number 2, because we can see that we were talking about in the second, harmony with nature's power. You remember? So here, the flow, spontaneity. Oh, nature's flows here. Whoa. Sorry. Nature's flows, So this is connected to 2, this is connected to 3, this is going up to 4, even 6. So it's kind of going through the whole order, the whole sequence. I wonder, it's interesting because we went up a level. Oh, wait, he puts the level not before the heart, but after the heart. So he considers that the first tier is this and second tier is this. Okay, well, never mind. But interesting that as he has ascended into a new tier, he's kind of revising how we got there. This is like 2, 3, 4, and 6. So the 5 is in the middle. Let's carry on. Finding a natural mix of conflicting truths and uncertainties. Now this is the 5. This is clearly the 5. You see this yin and yang. There's the truth and the uncertainty, and both are mixed together. There's the light in the darkness with the light, and this is the polarity. So we are here. I think we have arrived. It's just his language is a little bit confusing sometimes, but there is a mix. Because when we were in the level 4, in the heart, we don't know. We just don't know, because this is not the mind. This is the heart. The heart is uncertain, and the heart tells the truth as well. Excuse me. The heart level is the level of Satnam. So we are telling the truth. So when he gets to the 5th level, is that all the truths that I was getting from the heart and the heart, when the heart says I don't know, they are mixed together. So we need to figure out what is this, what comes out of all this. And that's what the 5th level is. When we are two humans connecting at the level of the heart, we don't know what we know, we don't know what we feel. Some things are true, some things we are not sure. Uncertainty, which by the way, this I'm not sure would be the karmic side of the 4th level, which he doesn't explore, but okay. Now as we get to the 5th, communication words are what helps us to communicate and figure out, okay, so what is true? It is true or not? So this kind of makes sense. Discovering personal freedom without harm to others or excesses of self-interest. Now this is clearly 4 still. We're looking still with the freedom, not harming others, so taking care of the others, and excesses of self-interest. So this is, what he's telling us is that, sorry, oh no, I don't want to do this. It's saying, look, we want to go beyond the karmic side of the 3, and beyond the 3, the self-interest, and we explore personal freedom. So not just in the group, but also ourselves. So this is all 4. I would say this goes over here in the human bond level. But let's carry on. Experience fullness of living on earth of such diversity on multiple dimensions. Yes, okay. So now this is very clearly 5. Experiences, this is something that is very much in the level of the 5, the 5th, number 5. And is calling it like that, look. The fullness of living on an earth of such diversity of multiple. Okay, the fullness, the full. Full is like the 10. Now, number 5 is linked to the number 10. We will see this in Karankriya when we get there, but fullness is linked to the 10. You can see it like now, you can see that when you get to the 5 and you have both sides together, the yin and the yang, and they are merging, as they are coming together through communication, this is the fullness. We are reaching the fullness through this joining. And here it says the fullness, but also living on an earth, but of such a diversity and multiple dimension. What he's saying is, look, we live in an earth, but we are not, this is the animal, this is the human, this is the angel, this is the universal, this is the personal. So yes, we are living in the material, but there is something universal about it. There is so many dimensions. There's so much diversity that is telling you there is something beyond. So it is pulling us up. It is telling us there's something beyond. There's something more spiritual, more cosmocentric. Yeah, it's more about the cosmos. You're using the term from Ken Wilber. Yeah. So we can see here these multiple dimensions. It's already pointing towards the cosmos. So it's pointing up. Remember, this is the higher triangle. We call it like that because it points up. It wants to go upwards towards these multiple dimensions. So this makes sense. Some of these they don't, but this one makes sense. Demand integrative and open systems. Great. So here we go. Systems and integrating. How do we integrate things? Through the word, through speaking. Yeah, it points up to something higher, some multiple dimensions, something more cosmological, less material. Clearly, we reached the 5. So the others were really, really well aligned. This one is like a mixture going up to the 5 and pointing beyond the 5, which is also very natural to happen in the 5. When we get to number 5, this is something that I mentioned the other day. The 5th element is ether. Ether is vibration. Vibration is the word. There is vibration in the earth. There's vibration in the water. There's vibration in the fire. There's vibration in the air. It's just that the earth is more dense than the fire, the water and the fire and so on. So the 5 touches all of them. You can see it in the hand. The thumb touches all the other fingers. You don't do that with the other finger, right? It's really difficult. The thumb is the one that touches all of them. So as we get to the 5th stage of the evolution, it is natural that we explore how did we get there, the whole process. So it makes sense. It's a mixture of things, but at the same time, it also makes sense. Okay, we are coming to the next one. Hopefully it's the 6th chakra. Let's see what it says. Holistic. Well, holistic, let's put it here. Let's put it here, but I'm not sure whether that's going to be 6 or 7. Because that kind of implies 7 already, but we will see. Blending and harmonizing a strong collective of individuals. Blending and harmonizing. Well, this is pointing to the 5, because I mentioned there is the communication that is going to help to find the merging, but the 5 is the bridge to cross to the 6. And it's in the 6 that the merging happens. In the 5 is more like mixing, but they are still very differentiated. In the 6 is more like the merging. If you think about it in terms of energy, we have the Ida and the Pingala and the Sushumna, the three channels in the body. And the Ida goes to the left, the Pingala goes to the right, and they both merge in the third eye. And then Sushumna is the only one that reaches to the crown. So the merging itself, that's the third eye. So it makes sense that he will find the blending here. I mean, the tool to get to this blending and harmonizing is the communication, is 5. 5 is also sound, 5 is music, music is harmony. So you see this harmonizing comes through the 5. But you can see also collective of individuals, that's the Sangat, that started here, the community. So you see the 4, the community, in order to reach the unity, it hasn't reached the unity yet, you mix it up in the 5 and it merges into the unity, in the holistic unity, into the 6. So pretty good, pretty good. Focus on the good of all living entities as integrated systems. The very word focus is something interesting because in yoga we focus so much on the third eye to meditate, yeah? on the good of all living entities as integrated systems. Again, integrating, so joining together, merging them. And the good of all living entities, what this sounds to me is going beyond judgment. You may remember when we were doing the mind games and we said that there is, out of the judging, then comes all these mind games. If you haven't seen this video, I recommend that you watch it. Mind games is very important. Now, there is one final judgment that it can help us go beyond all the mind games that spring out of this judgment, which is make the final judgment that it's fine. It's okay. Everything is good. Everything is good. Everything is fine. So this is the focusing on the good. Focusing on the good of all living entities. Yeah, everybody does their best, even if some people's best is really quite low. Everybody does their best. So this is a good perspective to integrate them, to join them. Expanded use of human brain and mind tools and competencies. So now the mind appears again. Remember, at first we saw the mind in the third level because 3 and 7 are 10. So the mind was appearing there. But now that if we are reaching this area, this is connected to the mind. But with the third eye open, this would be like beyond the mind, so expanded. So again, we find that in this level, this is all quite dharmic. This is all quite dharmic as well. So he went dharmic. He goes into the 3, karmic, and dharmic, and then he goes all the way dharmic again. So all this is dharmic. I think it would be nice to do this whole exploration of the levels, but taking into account as well that even as we progress farther into the, the society evolves, we still have karmic attitudes, and they are not being very explored very well here. But okay, focusing on the good of all living entities as integrated systems, expanded use of human brain and competencies, finds self is part of a larger, conscious, spiritual whole that also serves the self. Now, this is like the sixth sense, the third eye is opening and sensing that we are part of something larger. We are not yet in contact with that, but we are sensing it. We are conscious that there is some spiritual, something higher and whole that can be connected to us. This is the intuition seeing beyond, seeing beyond the veil, seeing what is here. God, God, Guru, divine, magic, whatever you want to call it. So through the third eye, we are seeing there is something beyond, some, how does he call it, spiritual whole that serves the self. Now, this is already pointing to the 7, and this is already 7. Global networking, seeing as routine. Now he has transcended into the 7. I would say this holistic is reaching from the 6, going all the way to the 7. When he's talking about the merging, that's the 6. When he goes into, this would be the 7, global and networking. You can see out of the crown chakra, imagine a tree upside down, if you can. So there's me. Wait, I cannot see myself. This is me. And that's another one. And another one. We are all here meditating, yes? And through the 7th chakra, this is our interconnection. You can see it like this, like a tree upside down. And these roots merge together. and we are all interconnected in that way. See, it's like many trees, and the roots are connecting, but it's the more subtle we go, the more into this interconnection we reach. So I would say that the global networking, he's definitely, hold on, definitely going into the 7th already. Acts for minimalist living, so less actually is more simple, yeah? Simplicity. When you are going up there, when you're going to the 7th chakra, you're not looking for material things, you are simplifying because is becoming narrower and narrower, you're becoming smaller so that you can depart. So yeah, simplicity. Simple. All right. Very interesting. So he got to the 6th and the 7th. He kind of merged them at the end. I guess that's why when he describes it, he's saying that the coral level is unknown. Maybe because how does it sound? I think I lost the microphone for a second as well. I don't know how much you heard. I don't know when I lost it. But I was saying that maybe that's why he says that the 7th is unknown, because he has mixed the 6 and the 7 here. I mean, I don't really know. I've never studied this topic before. Today is the first time. What I've been doing is 1 hour and a half. We have been exploring this. I am just beginning to have a little idea of what this goes into. This is probably an oversimplification, this table, on a lot of research, on many papers, on many research studies on different aspects. So I'm probably going too far with very little. So I cannot say much about the merit or anything of what was being said. It's just my way of understanding it. Infinity says, he said, no one reached coral yet, but maybe because he didn't know anyone so. Since he was influenced by Sri Aurobindo, the founder of Integral Yoga, which says that rishis are there, not in society. Oh, that's interesting. So the guy who created this was influenced by Sri Aurobindo. Was interesting. I'm always happy to learn a new topic. Okay, so let's see if it says anything else. Development of the theory. I will just read that diagonally very quickly. Diversification of views. Oh, here it is. Ken Wilber. Oh, sorry, you're not seeing. Wait, I was just looking through this very quickly, reading diagonally. Here's where Ken Wilber appears. But I think the Sri Aurobindo was probably what Ken Wilber brought, not the original one from Graves, probably. Oh, look, initial experiments. All right, this goes much deeper, yeah? Here's where Wilber in the 99. So this started in 66. Oh, that's pretty old. Original research. I would, Infinity, you were saying that this was influenced by Sri Aurobindo, but I guess you mean Ken Wilber, right? You don't mean Graves, the original author. Oh, here it is, look. Aurobindo. So, these are the colors, these are the 2 tiers of the original text from Graves, and this is the one inspired by Aurobindo, and this one follows the colors of the chakras. Now that makes sense. The colors make sense, and this would be the 3rd tier of the tier of the rishis and all that. Yeah. That makes sense, doesn't it? I think it makes sense. Excellent. Well, let me see. Let me just show you the drawings. I just clicked on 2 drawings. This is something I saw. I just opened it. I didn't read it. So, beige, instinctive self. Look at this is the age. Infancy, up to 3 years old, animistic, impulsive, 3 to 6 years of age, 7 to 8. Well, it's interesting because this is up to 7 years, more or less. This is 7 to 14, 14 to 21. So it's like every 7 years, which is something that we study in yoga and also in psychology, that every 7 years there's like different cycles. But yeah, it's just a way to put it more beautiful with images, I guess. There's a little bit more of the... here there's pitfalls as well. That's interesting. This is like the karma of every level. Okay, could be interesting. I wonder about the Aurobindo's level. Does he follow the chakras? Oh, he puts red one here. Yeah, that's because that's infrared. What I associated to the first chakra, that's kind of confusing. I don't know. Anyway. So, okay, this is spirals, integral and holistic. This is another drawing I found as well. I put 2 in the screen. It's the same. I think it's the same. Using instincts and habits to just to survive, obey the desires. The world is a jungle full of threats and predators. Yeah, it kind of... Yeah, green is a human spirit. Hierarchical systems, merging. Yeah, okay. Well, I think it's enough. All right. It's also influenced by holism theory. Yeah, okay. Well, what did we get out of that? I like when scientific research follows so interesting line by line to something that we can bring from yoga. And I'm sure there's many disparities and many conflicts could happen along the way as well. But just to see that there is this natural progression, it was quite nice to observe. In any case, I hope it was useful to do this little exploration together, and so that you could see also my process, what I would do. When I pick a topic, like imagine I wanted to pick this topic, I would have done this by myself. I would have gotten to this, and then I would have done a video on that. But rather than doing that, I thought it was very interesting to just explore it together, reading for the first time myself with you. If you enjoy that, maybe we can do it some other time with other topics. You can suggest topics and we can do this little brainstorming session with any topic that we want. For today, I think it's enough, over an hour and a half already of brainstorming. The brain is like kind of burning a little bit. So hopefully that was useful. And yeah, it was fun. Like Infinite Stories is just saying in the chat. It's not appearing yet, but there we go. It was fun. Excellent. Well, that's it for today for me on my side. Thank you everyone for being here and listening and contributing. Because we are biased, says Infinity, he says whatever everyone thinks is at least one stage lower, and not to start seeing and judging others by tears. Yes, I agree. Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. Until next time, Sadnam.